where Robert is, but yeah.
Robert's
All
here.
right.
Oh, he is?
Robert's here.
Here.
Oh, hi,
Hey,
Robert.
Robert.
I found
Glad
Robert.
you made it. Okay, glad everyone's here. So let's get started. So welcome. So the reason it's great to see you. It's a quick turnaround because it was either we did our first draft pitch now, or we'd have to wait more than 2 weeks because both next Saturdays fall bookend the spring break. And so we had to make an executive decision and decided it'd be better to kind of feel a little bit rushed, but to put together the 10 slide deck pitch and then practice a 4-minute pitch so that you had all that time to then tweak it and work on it than it would be to like wait all that time and then, present it and then have to work on it before the pitch on April 10th. All right, so that's just to give you the rationale. And the other thing is, I just spoke to the president, the vice president, and the board of trustees on Thursday about this final pitch, and they're all really excited. So they are going to hopefully attend, if they're able to. And we're super impressed with some of the projects that you guys were doing. So that's very exciting stuff. So hopefully there'll be a lot of interesting people that will be watching. So we're very excited. And with that, I'll let my colleague James take it away.
Yeah, so kind of order operations today. First half, because we didn't really get into it deeply last time, we're going to go because I know probably all of you feel really solid about your finance slides, right? Like they're 100%. Yeah. We're going to go into it a bit more. We're going to go into finances a bit more, and then we're going to take a break. Y'all can gather your thoughts, and then starting at 1:30, we're going to go through pitches. So you might hear my daughter running around outside. That's fun. So from finance side, these are 3 or 4 resources I'm going to send your way. So one of them is a piece that I didn't get to show you last time. This is another Google template. I'm using all Google templates because they're just easy, they're accessible. And if you lose the one I send you, you can just create a new one. And they're actually not bad. So this is the financial statement slide. So what this is this is going to be literally once you're running. So this is going to be your rolling P&L statement. Is anybody familiar with P&L statements and what I mean by that? So P&L, yeah, sorry. Profit and loss. And so P&L in most businesses is equivalent to a cash flow statement. So P&L is not taking into account like equipment you bought, amortized out, revenue recognition, all of those things that kind of go into the income statement and balance sheet. A P&L is literally how much do you have coming in, how much do you have going out, and what is the difference between the two, i.e. your profit. Or if you don't have profit, what is the loss? Like how much are you actually losing? And so the idea behind a P&L or a cash flow statement is to take all of the money you spent on random things like investment activities, going out, visiting investors, going out, visiting clients, all of those things, all of the operational activities. So like selling, buying equipment, just on a daily basis, the needs of the business, fulfilling the needs of the business, and the financing activities for any given period. Take all of that money, what you brought in versus what you sold versus what you paid out, and saying, okay, this is actually how much money we lost during this given period. It has very little to do with the health of your business, unless if you're bootstrapping. So if you have the thing I don't like about teaching on Zoom is I don't have a notepad, and I wish I really did. Here, let me, Okay. So can I do this? Oh, here we go. I have a notepad. Sweet. All right. So if you own a business and your business has, let's say your business has $100,000. Now, if every single month you go through your P&L statement and you're losing $10,000 a month, that means you have a burn rate of $10,000 a month. Your business at that rate can survive for 10 months. So what a P&L statement allows you to say is very quickly, almost in a napkin math fashion, say, what's the current state of my business from an operational perspective? From a health perspective, if you're burning $10,000 a month and you have $1 million sitting in the bank, you're fine. You can do that. You could do that for 100 months and you'd be fine. Like, it's absolutely not a problem. So the difference between the different, like a cash flow statement versus an income statement or balance sheet, is going to be wildly different depending on your business, depending on what you're doing. If you're running a restaurant, a cash flow statement is going to be your life. It's going to be your lifeblood. When I owned my restaurant, we had a point where we were burning $12,000 a month. By the end, we had gotten it to profitability. And we did that only by managing the cash flow statement. Like, we almost didn't look at how much money we had in the bank other than to say, we have enough. And the business I'm in right now, we manage our burn rate. So this number, we're very, very consistently looking at our burn rate because we have a certain amount in the bank. We raised $40 million. We have some portion of that that's still in the bank. So we're managing our growth to say, with that amount in the bank, we're going to be able to scale to profitability and we'll burn through X percent. And that's our anticipated line. So our goal is, when we're looking at it, we say, we're going to be burning this down for the next 10 months, 12 months, 16 months. And that's why, that's the importance of this. So if you're going through your, oh, why is it? Oh, because I'm just typing everywhere now. Cool. That's fun. You learn new things about Zoom and all of a sudden you can't click on anything. All right, that's fun. So does that make sense to everyone? So what does this look like in reality? Basically, show me an actual statement. Basically, this is an example of it. So this is for Amazon. I doubt really. Actually, no, this might actually be it. So reading this, and this is something that you'd go through any accounting course. Can I delete this? Or, oh God, damn it. I don't need that. I guess I can't. I guess I can't delete it. Okay, cool. Wait. All right. Oh, clear. Clear all drawings. Get out of here. Cool. All right. So cash and cash equivalents at the beginning of the period. We're looking at, this is an end of year cash flow statement. So what this is saying is, how much cash do they have on hand at the beginning of the year? i.e., what does that bank account look like? So for us, it's going to be, if we're thinking about, for our company, we could say it's like $30 million. For this is in millions. So Amazon at the beginning of 2017 had $19 billion in cash. How much did they make from operating activities? They made $3 billion. Depreciation. So this is, they depreciated $11 billion worth of stuff. That means when you buy something, it's what is the actual value of this now? You don't have to take this out if you're doing this on like your personal business and you want to figure out how you're surviving. This is an example of a very, 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 very advanced kind of like what you would do if you were an accountant level side. I'll show you a napkin math variant shortly. Stock-based compensation, i.e., how much did they actually pay their executives and employees in stock? That totals $4 billion. So they actually paid out more than net income. Other operating expenses, $202 million. So when we look at other expenses, income, the net is they lost $292 million. Their deferred income, $29 million. And this is an example of what you would do. This is an incredibly advanced example of what you would do here. Let's look for something. All right, here we go. Direct method, operating activities, cash received from customers, $800. Cash paid to suppliers, $150. Employee compensations, $200. Other operating expenses paid, $250. Net cash, $200. Investing activities, sold some land, $200. I'm going to think these are in thousands. Purchase of equipment, $300. Net cash, negative $100. Then this is common share dividends, things you paid out directly to investors, and paying off any debt. So spent $500. So depending on what your beginning cash balance was, if your beginning cash balance here, so that puts us at $600, 600 down, 200 up. So we lost 400. So if you're hopefully that beginning cash balance was over 400. But their burn for this period would be 400. I'm going to say 1,000. Because I can't imagine sale of land being $200. And if your employee compensation were $200, it's a problem. Does anybody have any questions about this? I would very much prefer you do this top version here. This to anything else. Like, and just do this for every single month. Like, look at what do you anticipate your sales being? What do you anticipate your cost of sale? So that's what this is. So when you think about what do we have to pay, what are we going to have to pay for our salespeople? So those of you that are going to be going through salespeople, what are we going to have to pay per product? So what does our COGS look like? And does everybody know what COGS are? Can somebody tell me what COGS are?
James, is that the cost of goods?
That's cost of goods. Brandon, I know you know this. You wanna go into it?
No, thank you.
Okay.
James, I have a question.
Yeah.
Suppose we don't know what our materials costs will be because we don't know what the volume is going to be. How do we deduct our cash flow statement without knowing like how much money we're going to actually be spending on materials?
So there's a thing called a WAG, and knowing when to WAG is a really important thing. WAG is a wild ass guess. And so it's you saying, I anticipate starting out, I'm going to sell 10 units in the first 3 months. I'm going to sell 100 units the 3 months after that. And 1,000 units by end of year. So at this point, you've got 1,110 units that are going out the door by end of year. For you, it's figuring out, okay, how confident am I that I'm going to be able to get to that 1,110 units? If I am confident, then what is the actual amount that would cost me if I ordered up front versus if I ordered piecemeal? Like, what would it cost me to order 10? What would it cost me to order 100? What will it cost me to order 1,000? Honestly, I would do the 10, 100, then 1,000. Map that out, and those are your cogs. The cost, and it's the cog is like the cog itself is what it costs for you to receive the product. Cogs is for you to receive the product and then deliver it to a person. What is the actual cost there, inclusive of any sales commissions you pay out? So what that would be is all of these things go into the cog. Plus and if you're not directly passing through your shipping cost, that goes into your cogs as well. And any luxury goods you're likely not going to have, you're likely eating your shipping costs. And in today's world, Amazon's pretty much made it so everybody has to eat their shipping costs. So how do you effectively run your business if you've got these kind of cogs? If you have to figure out, okay, what is my actual, how much money am I actually going to make for my product? A good way to do that, and let me clear this. No. I hate you. All right, there we go. So we're going to say cogs are, and we're going to say 1,300. Or no, let's go something cheap. So $1.30. So our cogs are $1.30. Our unit price, and this is where you kind of want to figure it out. So you're saying, okay, I have a glove, and I know it's going to cost me $1.30 for every glove. This is going to be an expensive glove. At that point, you need to figure out, okay, what am I actually selling this in market as? And that's where we go through that process we all already went through. So you'd say, okay, I need to charge at least, let's go. I need a 7x that cost. So I need to charge at least $9. So immediately what we've ended up with is we built in a profit margin. Well, actually, no, that's right. We have an 85% profit margin built into our product. Does this mean we're going to make money? No. because we've also we have an employee cost of $200,000. We've got, well, let's just say our employee cost is $20,000. This is monthly. We say our office costs, well, today's world, no office. We're all good. We got warehousing costs. So warehousing costs for goods are going to be, we'll say that we have some fixed portion. So that's going to be another $3,000 for the pleasure of doing business with our warehousing people. What are some other costs we might have? And these are fixed costs that aren't built into the variable COGS.
Maybe accounting services.
Sure. That's going to be, we'll say $1,000 a month.
How about some insurance?
Definitely. That's going to be, we'll say another $1,000.
Legal services.
Legal services. We're going to say you're going on the startup plan, so it's going to be $2,000 a month.
Marketing.
Marketing. You're probably going to spend $5,000 a month on that.
Utilities and office expenses.
We can say office. Yeah. Let's say we have office expenses.
I mean, telephony, internet, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And a website.
We'll say we have another 5,000 in random expenses. That'll include website and all of that.
Yep.
Okay. So we have a total of $41,000. So how many products do we need to sell to get to that 41,000 to make money in a given month? So when we're looking at this, we say, okay, so we make $7.80 per unit. That means we need to sell 5,000 units, 5,256 units every single month to make money. So if this is what you're planning on starting your business with in terms of costs, that means you are not going to be profitable until you get to that 5,000 unit mark. If you're going to need to scale any of these things, you should account for that in this. So when it comes to napkin mapping, how much money you actually need to start up, it's taking every single cost that you have, adding in this ancillary portion, and don't be pessimistic. So when you're thinking about this, you're thinking about, oh, warehousing. I spec'd out that warehouses in general in New York, they cost, for what I need, they cost about $3,000 for that. Assume it's going to be 20% more expensive than you thought it would be. So say 3,600. I'm planning on hiring 2 employees. I'm going to pay them $80,000 each. That's great. They have health insurance, hopefully, if you're nice. They have health insurance. There are a bunch of additional benefits. Like you're going to have to buy workers' comp. You're going to have to buy all of those things. And it's all going to add in to your costs for that employee. So just multiply whatever you're paying them by 1.25. and that'll account for it. Accounting, insurance, legal, whatever the state it is, whatever they come. So if you go to an accounting person, that person says, I'll take care of all of your stuff for $1,000 a month. That doesn't include excess costs. Ask them what those excess costs are or excess hours are. And if they say it's like, we're going to charge you $400 an hour for every additional hour. And if anybody's balking at that, that's not a crazy number. My current consultant rate is $360 an hour. Like, so from an hourly standpoint for an accountant, that's fairly normal. So if you're thinking you're going to need budget in another 20 hours of their help beyond that, and then we'll say $1,000 a month. Amortize it out over the course of the year. So you're going to get a 1 followed by Satan for accounting costs. Then insurance. Insurance is going to be insurance. You get a quote, that's what they're going to charge you. You can do some variability there. Legal, same thing as an accounting. Like what legal teams will do, they'll give you startup packages that'll include a certain number of hours of expected use. And then anything beyond that will be billed. Depends on how they're going to bill you. If they're billing you for equity, congratulations, you found a great lawyer. And you're living the dream. If they're actually billing you, or then you need to account for that in this. If they're deferring costs, you need to account for that in this. Like, just because someone's deferring costs doesn't mean it's not going to cost you money. It's still money. Like anything you defer, and as a business owner, you're going to get a lot of deferral things, are things that eventually need to be paid. So that needs to be accounted for. Marketing is a budgeted thing. The reality is you should be generous with your marketing budget, but be smart. Don't just throw it all into Google Ads. Don't do it. I went on this diatribe last time, but I'm just going to say it again. Don't do it. Office expenses, they're always going to be more than you think they will be. Like if you're renting an office for $2,000 a month, you're also going to need to make sure you have snacks, beverages, Wi-Fi, chairs, desks. Things are going to break. All of that stuff you need to account for. If you're in a WeWork, it's simpler, but at the same time, it's okay. What are all the costs surrounding that I'm going to need? So you're going to need monitors. You're going to need all of that. How often are people's computers going to break? All of those things go kind of into this office expense. And as you grow, it'll go into IT. But the reality is right now, it's all office expense. And then ancillary, a good rule of thumb is doing like an eighth to a quarter of everything else is going to be ancillary. And this is just like, this is like Comet hits the building stuff. Where it's like, these are the unexpecteds. So over the course of the year, you as a business owner are going to get hit with random fees. And that might be Delaware decides to charge you a tax for something. Or like the governor of New York shuts down your business for some reason or another. Like, I can't think of what it would happen. I don't know, but we're all on Zoom, so something must have happened. Like anything of that, like COVID hits, it comes out of this bucket. This is your Comet hits the building. Or we'll just say COVID bucket. Like, this is to pay for the unexpected things in your life. All of that adds into this. So then when you think about this cost, we go, okay, if I expect it's going to take me 30 months to get to this number, that is,
James, do you have any tips on how to figure out like the ramp, right? Like how long that would take?
that goes along the napkin math I was saying earlier. So it's like month one, just gonna auto calc. Yes. Woo. So if I expect first month, I'm gonna sell 10 of these. Next month, I'm gonna sell 30. The first,
Yeah, baby.
don't. 30% growth for the first few months is not unreasonable. Or 300% growth for the first few months is not unreasonable. It's wildly unreasonable past that. So here we'll say this, and we'll round. Okay. Or so this. Nope. Do you guys know why I'm putting these dollar signs next to these? It's if you want to lock a cell, you put a dollar sign next to it. So if you put it next to the C, that's the column, it'll lock the column, the number, it'll lock the row.
James, what does locking it do?
Means when I drag it, it doesn't. So if I were to say, let's give you an example. If I were to say this times that, and I drag this over, because this next cell is 0. So by locking the cell and locking the column by itself, I get that multiplier. Actually, this one needs to be equal to that. All right. So what we say, 30 months? All right, let's get out there. Oh, come on. You can give me more. So based on that, we actually hit 28. Between 28 and 29. I was so close on my math, guys. So close. And that's growing.
Very impressive.
That's growing 13% month over month, which is not unreasonable for the first couple of years. Like once you're established, you're gonna see it take an arc. Like, let's say, can I draw? Woo! All right, you're gonna see it take an arc like this, and eventually that'll peter out. The core goal is that before this, you're like this. And so this right here is actually that 300% month over month. And then that 13% month over month, you're going to hit a period of ramp that's unbelievable. And you're going to grow 300% year over year. But the reality is that it might take a while. So 30 months in, we're going to need, at our peak, $854,000 for this business that we have fairly moderately priced here. So this is 2, maybe 3 employees, a small New York warehouse, a basic accountant, basic insurance, basic legal, a moderate marketing fund budget, office expenses, ancillary costs. Basically, this is saying this is what we're going to need to run. Some of this you don't need. If you don't need stuff on day one, take it out in the beginning and add it in on a given month. So if we know, let's hope we don't break everything. All right, here we go. So we'll say this is month 12. Month 1, employee cost. Well, it's just going to be me, but I need to account for myself. So I'm going to say I need to take home $7,500 to survive. Warehousing costs, day 1, it'll probably be out of my garage or out of my house. So, but let's just say I want to account for that. So we'll say it's $1,000. Accounting, it's actually going to be stacked. Like these 3 just like they cost. Marketing, we're going to be a little cheap. So we'll say we'll do $500 a month for marketing first year. It's going to be largely those things that don't scale. So I'm going to be visiting people saying, oh, hey, here, like, this is my thing. Let's try it out. Doing the things that don't scale. Office expenses are 0 because I don't need an office. Ancillary expenses, we'll just say it's $2,500. So we're down to $15,500 equals C. And we'll drag that out to month 12. We just saved ourselves $50,000 off of this. So this would be an example. The first scenario would be an example of running for hypergrowth or running for growth. The second example is an example of running lean. And so, as you can tell here, if we were to say, try to do this until we were profitable, we are profitable at month 21 doing this. Are you going to achieve those growth rates spending that little on marketing? No. But you can model that out as well. So you could throw a marketing line in here and scale up your marketing as you go. You can get as complex with this model as you want. But this is just a basic thing that you can throw together in, like, that took us, what, 20 minutes? And so another way of thinking about this is if you had raised, let's say you raised 500,000. Or actually, oh, I'm make sure you add the right line, or else you're gonna like all of a sudden be losing $9 million and be like, what did I do? All right. So what's the tale of our adventure here? If I raise that, I look and I all of a sudden have this period right here out between year 2 and 3 where for 7 months I'm losing money. So $30,000. I need about 40K here. Now, no matter where you end up in this, if I need 40K, I should look to have at least 100K. Whatever you think you need, and investors will tell you, don't do this, but do it, because it's better to have money in the bank than not. Like, this is your safety net. So if you think you're going to need 40K and you actually only need 40K, that's great. But if you have a down month, same thing as this kind of COVID clause here. If you have a down month, that extra 60K could make or break you. If all of a sudden a competitor enters the market who copies your thing exactly, and you need to super accelerate just to knock them out, or an investor starts up, or a company starts up, and for those first few months, you're like, oh man, maybe I need to buy them. Not saying you're going to be able to buy a company for $60,000, but crazier things have happened. You can actually use that capital to do it. Excess capital is life in random situations. Plan for the worst, hope for the best. Like, hope you're going to make that profitability in 10 months. Plan for 30. Hope you're going to only need $500,000. Plan for 800. Like, take your best guess and then multiply it. Like, always be sure you have enough money in the bank, and don't underestimate how much it's going to cost randomly for you to do things. Like, when we had our restaurant, we anticipated it would cost us $100,000 for the first year. Well, it turns out starting the damn thing cost $30,000. And building in the first year cost $150,000, not including the $30,000 it cost to build the damn thing. And it's like, everything costs more than you expect.
James, when you're figuring out the initial costs for things, how much of it do you recommend of it being purely your money, and how much do you recommend of it being investor? And how do you kind of think about that from your experience?
It's how much money are you comfortable as a person throwing out a window and lighting on fire? Like, literally, like, it's, are you comfortable? Everyone is in a different situation.
So what's your risk tolerance? What can you afford to lose, basically?
Exactly. Like,
okay,
if you can afford to lose $1 million, and you wouldn't lose sleep at night, and you wouldn't have sleepless. You should have sleepless nights if you lose $1 million, but it wouldn't be devastating to your personal life. Go ahead. If you can get somebody to back you with money, do it. If you need to take, like, it's all dependent on your risk tolerance, and that's up to every single person. There is no measure for this, and like, depending on your situation, you may not have access to capital. Like, friends and family round assumes that you know people in your friends and family that have a bunch of money. A lot of people don't. So it's saying whatever your means of capital is, like, go out, find capital. However you can get money, the money you need to start up, get the money you need to start up. If you need to invest a few of your own dollars into this to get it off the ground, to build a POC, if a POC, like, if you're starting a business and you can build a proof of concept for $500 and you have $500 to spend, go out, do that. If not, find somebody who can give you that $500 in exchange for shares. Build your proof of concept. Make sure that it works. Take it out to people. Show it to them. Get someone to pay for it. Do the thing that doesn't scale, like going to South by Southwest, putting a 3D printer on a bar and print shot glasses, and then go home and start making them. Like, do the thing that doesn't scale. Find money any way you can. The first few months are going to be a scramble. The first whatever are going to be a scramble. And a lot of times it won't work out. Sometimes it does. And when it does, it really does. So be prepared to rough it for a long time. Be prepared to, if you're bootstrapping, make sure you have enough capital to build your proof of concept and get those first few sales at the door. Bootstrapping does not mean it's not going to cost anything to start. You're still going to have a bunch of these costs up front that you're going to need to pay. Like, for example, a Delaware C Corp will cost you $500 a year, plus a $273 foreign entity fee, because anything outside of Delaware, unless you're operating from Delaware, they charge you $270. If you ever plan on raising money, you need to have a C Corp. There's a thread I sent Carl, but we can send it out after this. Like, the reason why investors want you to have a Delaware C Corp, because every investor you talk to that's institutional is going to have investors underneath them. Any angel investor you talk to has hundreds of investments. If you have an LLC, that's a direct pass-through of tax liability from an LLC to the people underneath it, which means that that tax liability will go to that investor. So they need to go and count 100 different entities against their tax statement every year for every one of their investments, if all their investments are LLCs. If their investments are C Corps, they don't. They only need to count it when they have a liquidity event.
How hard is it to get that? And do most companies get that?
It'll cost you, what it costs? It's like $700 to get it. And it's super easy. Like, it takes 3 days for the filing. There are a bunch of services that'll help you with it, like Clerky, Gus. There are a few others. But they'll help you with the filing. That said, definitely, if you know a lawyer, consult a lawyer. They're going to be best able to tell you what you should do given your personal circumstance. This is just coming from the well taken stance of like the Silicon Valley world. Also, if you do a Delaware C Corp, don't issue shares until you have to. Like, issue shares when you start, when you're bringing in income, and then account for those shares, because they're going to charge you for every single issued share.
When do you have to pay for shares? Like, because I know a lot of people that are like, for instance, start out as a marketer for a startup company, and the company doesn't have capital to give them, so they give them shares instead. But I've heard those shares could be worthless. So when do those shares become money, and how long, when do they become worthless? Like, how does that work?
It depends on your vesting schedule. So if I, as a new employee to a startup, all right, shares, get 5,000 shares. No, not $5,000. If I get 5,000 shares and my cliff is 1 year, my my vest is 4 years. Well, actually, let's say 3 years. Wait, how many do I have? 32. It'll be fine. We'll be fine. My vest is 3 years, and my exercise, and this is actually, let's say options. So as a startup employee, I get 5,000 options. And my exercise is 30 cents a share. So let's say month 1. Month 1, I have exactly 0 shares. So if equal, if this less than 12, then 0. If not, or yeah, if less than 12, if not, equals that divided by 36 times that. Okay, so this, I'm gonna lock the column, or I'm gonna lock the row, because as I drag, I don't want it to count. I don't want it to pull with me. This I'm fine with, because I actually want it to multiply against this. And then this is the total amount it's going to cost me to exercise my shares, because my shares here, 30 cents a share, basically, is this. And then let's say, okay, month, vested shares, cost to exercise, and value. So let's say the value on day 1 per share is $1. And we anticipate it's going to go up 10% every single month. This is not like a thing, but we're just going to say that. That times that.
But James, how often do you have to pay shares? Like, is that a common thing when you're starting a business? So like if a student here is starting a business and they have an investor, are they going to have to budget to pay them shares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're always going to have to budget for shares. You as a founder only need to pay for shares that you issue to other people as taxes at the end of every year. But paying for shares, you need to pay for shares the moment they're like the moment they become real. If you get shares, you need to pay for those up front. The moment they're vested and by vested, I mean you own them. Until they're vested, they are owned by the company. Options, the moment you exercise, and you'll have a strike price for those shares. So if we drag this out, why do we have value like that? Why do we have value like that? Ah, didn't lock the column. So as you can see, we have 5,000 shares here. If we wanted to exercise them, it would cost us $1,500 at the end of year 3. Up to that point, we have 0. So from an employee standpoint, this is what you're going to care about. Like, and there are services that your company will give you. Carta, for example. If you're a founder, generally sign up for someone to manage this because this is a nightmare from a cap table standpoint. From a cap table standpoint, have I explained what a cap table is to everyone?
Nope.
Cool. So a cap table is a listing of every single person who has stock in your company. Now, this is a very dude-led company. All right. So we're going to say James has 10,000 shares. Carl has 100,000 shares. Robert has 200,000 shares. Brandon has 300,000 shares. Freya has 1 million. And Nay has 2 million. Did I nail all of those? That would be a first. Oh, man. All right. And then company stock. This is unvested company stock of 8 million. I feel like I got that one wrong. No. Damn. Good today. All right. And so this is kind of like, this is very basic version. Total owned, unvested, and then so day 1, it might be that. Company doesn't vest. So and so this gets so complicated so quickly. So there's also the concept of convertible debt, which you're going to have. So if you have any investors that are giving you a safe or doing a an equity loan, what you can have is you can have debt that converts to shares at a certain point. Like a safe is debt that converts directly into shares at a certain point. So you'll issue a safe and you'll say they'll lend you $500,000 That's 5 million. That's definitely 5 million. Yep. All right, $500,000. And they're expecting that in 3 years, this $500,000 will help your company grow to be worth $5 million. See, I'm way off now. I'm totally screwed. All right. So what they'd say is, I'm going to lend you $500,000 now, with the idea that your company is going to be worth $5 million in the future, 3 years from now. When this loan matures, I'm going to take 20% of your company at whatever this value is. So they'll say, I'm going to take, you agree in the terms of this loan to give me X $100,000 worth of your company's value at some point in the future, at a top point of X dollars. So it's saying, if I say 20% of a company at 5 million, few years, that $500,000 just turned into $1 million of equity. But that $500,000 enabled you to grow, and it's risk-free from your standpoint, i.e., it's a loan that you don't necessarily have to repay. But at the same time, there's a ton of leverage in it for the investor, who, if you grow the way they think you're going to grow, they get a ton of money back. They get a ton of value out of it. So the more they can help you grow in that period, the more money they make.
So James, to clarify, if I'm a student right now who's seeing all this and feels overwhelmed and like, oh man, I have this great idea, I'm excited about doing this, but I don't know if I can manage all of these financial logistics. We've had students like Catherine, who's going to be speaking at the pitch competition, who's gone through this. What would you recommend to them? Like, would you outsource this portion? And this is more just so they're understanding the big picture of what's going on.
Yeah, just don't worry about it. Like, honestly, when you need to invest, if you decide you're going to look at getting convertible debt financing, then you research safes, then you research vehicles. Don't worry about that right now. Right now, worry about this. Like, this is all you should be worried about. Equity is a thing that there are tons of people who can help you manage it. You just need to have a good handle on who owns what in your company, and don't go wild with the financing. If you have a company and you're taking off and all of a sudden a bunch of people are sending you term sheets for like X% of your company for this, don't sign every one of them, because pretty soon what you're going to end up with is you're going to own 8% of your company or 3% of your company that you used to own 80% of. And all of a sudden you're going to be like, what the F? I used to own so much of this company. Like, think about it this way. If you have $1 million company, I just really got to I'm going to turn this entire line into dollars. You have $1 million company and you say, okay, investor A, I'm going to give you 20%. So now you own $1 million worth of this company, right? So the moment that happens, you own 83%. Investor B comes in and says, I'm actually going to come in and I'll give you, and this is just an example, so like 20% of that. And each one of these is a round. So this is you giving away 20% of your company every single time. So you hear about all these people raising 4 or 5 rounds. They owned 100% of their company. And they raised 5 rounds. They'd own 40% of their company. They're no longer in control of their company. If you own half this, like you have a business partner, you own 20% of your company. You have literally no control. So be very, very careful about how much you get investment, how much you give out. That's the one thing you should be cognizant of. But at this stage, get some money on the board, get some dollars, get stuff sold. Like have a scoreboard to look at. And like raise whatever you need to up front to get this done. Again, thinking about this. So like if that first round it's really tight. So you're like, okay, I need to raise 33%. Like, actually, let's do that times that. Okay. Like you need to raise 33%, and let's get rid of the 2. That's fine. If it can eliminate the rest of these rounds by you raising more up front, that's better. Because even if you raise 40%, you still own 71% of your company. You need to raise one more round. You're at 59%. That's a heck of a lot better giving away 40% of your company up front than it is ending up owning 40% of your company on the back end. Especially right now while money is cheap. Anyone have questions? Somebody should have questions.
Would you quickly calculate it again, or maybe explain it again? I'm kind of lost at the final steps. For the share.
Oh, for shares? Yeah. So if my company is worth $1 million and I go talk to an investor and I'm like, I need you to give me $400,000. And they say, that's great, but I'm going to need that to be equal to money. And i.e., they're going to give me $400,000, but it's worth 40% of the company. That means now my company is worth the original value plus whatever that investor gave me, i.e., $1.4 million. That investor owns $400,000 worth of my company. So now my original $1 million that I own is now worth 71.43% of that company. So this is what I was talking about before when I said pre-money, post-money. Before you get money, your company's worth $1 million. After you get money, your company's worth 1.4.
And when you say it's worth $1 million, that means you have $1 million in the bank?
No.
How do you determine it's worth $1 million? If it's not too complicated.
Math.
Okay. Just the very basic explanation.
Like, okay. What is unique about your business and what is the value of that uniqueness? Like, if you sell $1 billion worth of stuff a year, but anyone could come in and take that entire share from you the next day with almost no effort, your business is worth nothing. Like, your business is worth the value of your revenue. But
So like if you have a
no-
patent for a unique service, for example, that kind of thing.
if you have a patent for a unique service, it's worth X dollars. Like your business is worth what someone's willing to pay for it. If someone tells you they'll buy your business for $50 million, your business is worth $50 million. Like it's, for example, look at Tesla, the company, like the stock. Right now, I hate this interface. One second. So Tesla, $598 a share, right? Market cap of $573 billion. Now, is Tesla worth that? No. So PE ratio is the current value of the price divided by the earnings per share, i.e., how much money the company actually made in the last year for every single share of stock outstanding, divided by every single share of stock outstanding. So it's saying literally how much the company made in terms of dollars versus the current price of the stock. That is 938 times. Is Tesla worth that? I don't know. Let's look at GM. 12. GM is 12 times. Is Tesla 90 times more valuable per share? Like, is the value of $1 that Tesla makes 90 times more valuable than the value of $1 that GM makes?
Nope.
Exactly. So, but because people are willing to pay that for Tesla, that's what the company's valued at.
FOMO makes people frothy.
All right. Yeah, no diamond hand stuff here, Carl. We're not diamond handing this. No.
So for the students' sake, though, like, are people going to need to calculate, or is this way getting too far ahead, like the worth of their company?
Don't do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't, like, you can estimate where you think you'll be, but again, like I said before, laser focus on this. How much money you need to run, how much it's going to cost you to run, and how much you can reasonably anticipate making.
This is so incredibly helpful, James, because this is giving us, even if we don't, like, we're just absorbing this right now, it's giving us a big picture view of all of the, considerations that go into the company. And so then we have context, as we learn and stuff like that. So it's unloading a lot, but it's not like we have to understand every single aspect of what you're saying. It's to give context. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep.
Love it.
All right. They will share this with you. It is shared. With that, it's 1:26. Go take your bio breaks. We're going to come back in 5 minutes, and then it's pitch time. Get ready. We're excited.
James, I have a question.
Yeah. Oh, internet fail. No. Amber, you had a hard internet fail. If you can
Still
hear
there,
me,
James?
I lost your
Oh,
internet.
You're back, Amber. We couldn't hear what you said for that moment.
Okay, I think my internet is not good. I just wonder if we have an order for the pitch.
We don't. It's gonna be a bit of a wag. Honestly, we're gonna go group by group. And you're basically gonna raise your hand, and then you're gonna go.
Or you can also, like, if you want to go next, you can like drop it in the chat so that.
Oh yeah, you can throw yourselves in the chat. Get after it. That's awesome.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. All right.
Yeah, that worked really well last time when we did that. That was an excellent system. So awesome.
So I believe Brandon is going first. Brandon's
Alright.
team.
I'm gonna eat some food. I'll see you guys in 5.
So see everyone at 1:33. 1:33 on the nose. Okay, looks like, hey, Cody, good to see you. We're just wrapping up our break before the pitches.
great.
Perfect timing.
Yeah. Great. How is everybody?
It's really good to see you. How's the business been since the last time we heard from you was all the way back in the fall? You know, like.
Oh yeah, yeah. Can you guys hear me? Okay, I've been having issues with my Zoom mics. Okay, great. Yeah, things are going really well. God, what's happened since then? A bunch. We hired a bunch more people, so we're at about 7 people now. I think back then we were about 4, so hired a bunch of folks. Expanding. We just tripled our fleet of printers. So we've got about like 30 something, I think, in the mail right now coming in. Yeah, no, things are going really good. Started putting out a bunch of press releases. We're starting to sort of, kind of hype the company up a little bit. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
And by the way, thank you, Cody, for responding our message about the 3D printing. Thank you.
Oh yeah, no problem. Of course. Yeah, happy to.
So Famika, do we have an order for most of the teams?
So it'll go Brandon's team, and then Team Bagas, and then Kevin's team, and then Cats will go 4th, and then Freya will go 5th. And then, yeah, so we do have an order. I'll write a consolidated list once everyone puts their.
Beautiful. And do you want to do the thing where you hold your phone up so they can see like when 4 minutes is up for when they're giving the pitch?
Maybe I can give like a 1 minute, like you got 1 more minute left.
Yeah, so that way you don't have to like.
Yeah, maybe I'll like put a word into the chat or something like alert, and then that'll just be like 1 minute left. If that works with everyone.
Or maybe just hold like, show that it has 1 minute left or that 3 minutes have gone by or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that.
Because that visual cue, I think, will be really helpful. That'd be awesome. Thank you. Cody, since you have all this experience with pitching, do you have any advice for like some first time, possibly nervous people?
Boy, so it's funny you asked. So I'm mentoring for Techstars for this accelerator program in Hartford. Awesome. And I just had a call this week with a team that had just started the program, and they got a unsolicited email from a VC asking them to come pitch like the next day. So they weren't like, they were totally freaking out. So I literally just had this conversation with those guys. Yeah, just, I mean, keep it tight, right? Don't try not to ramble, sort of slow down a little bit, like kind of slow down to speed up, if that makes sense. So, think through if you got, 3 things to say the 3 things and then move on to the next slide, right? Don't, try to stay kind of, calm and deliberate with how you're presenting. So you don't sort of end up in a rabbit hole. But other than that, yeah, just, enjoy it, have fun. And learn from it, right? No matter how it turns out, there's always something you can kind of tweak for the next one. So just view it as a learning process.
Love it.
All right, how do we feel about kicking this thing off with Team Brandon?
All right, let's do it. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. It's disabled. Can somebody?
Here, let me right now just make everybody a co-host. Right?
Actually, it should work now. When I just toggled multiple participants can share simultaneously. So it should work now.
Here we go. Are you seeing it?
Cool.
All right, hello. My name is Brandon. I'm with my teammate Luke here, and we are presenting Vento, the motorcycle garage for motorcycle enthusiasts who need more space.
So some of the problems we've had and experienced as motorcycle riders in New York City are theft. And I mean, this the top left image is actually a a screenshot of Brandon's motorcycle getting stolen, maybe like a month after he bought it. So we've had that happen. Potholes, broken mirrors. This bottom image is motorcycle knocked over. Definitely is not going to be like pristine after that. Let's see if you could go to the next slide, Brian. And yeah, of course, like snow, weather, and then like feces all around, like not great things. And then some of the the average example of what you can get for $250 a month is like this little slip right here, just like 1.5 feet on each side of this motorcycle. Next slide.
So we've found an opportunity to solve a lot of these issues by offering a cheaper, larger space and an access to pristine riding roads. We find that we are not the only ones needing this solution, because there are publicized stats of the amount of motorcycle registrations in New York. Believe it or not, the state of New York is actually number 4 in the US in terms of motorcycle registrations. So there's a large market who echo some of the problems that Luke and I just shared.
So our goal is to provide a cheaper storage alternative for New York City and Brooklyn motorcycle enthusiasts. And part of that value is going to come from the location, like where we're actually going to be housing this spot. So in addition to that, we would provide private lessons, sales and rental tool packages that would go along with the motorcycle slips, and that sort of business model. Yeah, next slide.
We would find that offering all of these things also creates a community, which is very important.
So then, yeah, location is definitely super important for this one.
That's how we find that we differentiate from our competition. Being located in the Hudson Valley frees us of the potholes, the traffic, and just puts you totally at ease. We like to say no potholes, no traffic, just turns, banks, and straightaways. So we've created a go-to-market strategy to present this business model to the world. We find that we don't want to go rent a giant warehouse and then determine that we don't have a market. We'd prefer to get this out to people right now and create a wait list and reservations for our offering. After that, we would secure the facilities and start renting space to bikes. To get our name out there and get the word of mouth going, we would host events and also lease the space to maybe a coffee shop or partner business. This would allow us to bootstrap easier and have some reoccurring revenue. To continue to grow, we'd find that we could offer private lessons and also eventually rentals and sales of motorcycles. After that, the sky's the limit. You know, we can create more locations or even diversify further.
So yeah, I'm Luke Lawson. I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, a mechanic, and I'm getting my instructor's certificate shortly. So.
And my name's Brandon as well. I'm also into motorcycles. I'm going to advocate for community here, and I'm on the way to becoming a licensed motorcycle dealer. We find that our team could also use one more strategic partner, perhaps an advisor, somebody with a similar experience of opening a facility like this, maybe an upstate resident, or even more ideally, somebody with land or some space. That'd be the ideal partnership for us. We're running out of time, so I can quickly tell you that our metrics related to our financials are very simple. For this business to work, our income needs to be greater than our expenses. We haven't gone into such great detail like James just shared with us, but we broke down our numbers loosely and lightly just to get some ballpark figures. We find that providing everything we just shared with you guys, we could make around 10 grand a month, and that would be enough to keep our doors open. And with that, we can say thank you. We're Team Vento. Everyone unmute so I can hear you applaud.
You should get a, that's the weird thing about Zoom is you should get applause, first of all, for going first, and second of all, like for being so calm and paced, like in your delivery. That was really impressive. I'll say that from a performance standpoint. It's extremely impressive.
Thank you.
Some quick notes I took on the problem statement, just tighten that up like 100%. So from the end of like problem statement, say like, here are all the problems. Like, how many of you, if you own a bike, have had this, so on and so forth. Just really tight. Say the problem, say how many people it affects every year. And again, within like, or just within New York City, like how many people within New York City this affects. Because, and this is a question more than anything else. Your market size slide, was that city or state?
That's the entire state.
Can you get that down to the city?
I'm sure we can.
I would show the city numbers because that's going to be your target market. State, you're going to open yourselves up to questions around that. And then like for the go-to-market slide, how are you getting people onto your wait list to start out? Like, what are you actually doing to get people onto your wait list? And how, like, what are the things you need to get to the next level, to the next level, to the next level? Like expected, like what does that ramp look like? And then the finance slide, just tighten it up. Give us a whole number of what you're going to need to get started. Like saying bootstrapping is great, but it's like, how much capital is it actually going to take to get this rolling? Like, and scaled.
Those all make sense. Thank you, James.
You're muted.
Perfect. I agree with what James said. I thought so. I had the same issue with the TAM. It's that there's something a little off with it because, like James says, if you already live out of the city, then you don't really have the problems that you outlined, right? And so you wouldn't need the service. If you live in the city, that's the real target, right? So I think you have to focus in on urban riders specifically, is because they're the only people who have this problem, right? If you're in the burbs, you have a garage. It's really the urban rider that you have is the issue. The other thing is like, so how do people get there? Like, I'm just trying to think of the like mechanics of it. And the thing that popped in my head is the way that if you want to go skiing, like, in upstate New York, right, you get the shuttle bus from the ski shop at the city at like 5 a.m. So maybe there's something there to think about in terms of when you think about those partnerships, right? Maybe it's that partnership with the local bike shop and you're doing a shuttle up, on the weekend so people can come up and ride their bikes and, do stuff. Just like try to really zero in on that. Who's the real target market and how are you going to like actually get them there? How are they going to like engage with kind of the offer? Yeah. And then I agree on the finance stuff, but the first, like the problem statement's great. I totally think it's a real market. Just be very specific with how it's going to work. But yeah, good stuff.
I love that. Thank you. We definitely grazed over the how do our customers get there section.
Yeah, right. They probably don't have a car, and so and you have their bike. So
yeah.
And to be clear, this was really good for 1 week. Like you guys had a week to throw this together.
Oh, really? Oh, well, that's great then. Congratulations. Yeah, this is really good. Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, Cody, just to give context, we had session 4 a week before this, and literally we just, for circumstances, had to do this like the very next week. So these are going to be rougher than in the past 2 years.
You could have fooled me. That was really good. So great.
That was excellent.
I'm wondering if, and also correct me if I'm wrong, James, but if like perhaps the management team slide should maybe be in the beginning, since, I don't know, I was wondering, it would be like context wise, but I guess I was like curious, on your thoughts of that too.
For this, I think their problem statement is strong enough where they don't need to necessarily show expertise. Like, the fact that they can explain this problem to the depth that they can is going to immediately provide validation around they're the people that know how to solve it. Like, these are people who have experienced this problem. Like, this is not a problem somebody walking down the street goes, oh shit, there's a motorcycle. I bet they have problems with potholes, people stealing it, and parking spots. So I feel like if we tighten up this TAM slide, tighten up the problem statement a little bit, you're really going to get a nice, like, it's going to be very clean, and it's going to make a lot of sense on the back end when they get to that point of being like Luke going, I'm a motorcycle enthusiast, I'm certified for this, and Brandon going, I'm gonna be a dealer pretty soon, I'm selling these things. Like, at that point, it's just asking for land and money, and like, because they're building the context throughout this. So I feel like it's actually positioned really nicely. I just want to see this. Yeah, the problem statement tightened up. The go to market, a little more detail in there. Just, and by a little more, I mean like more and more. Like the how people are getting there, really important and critical. I didn't even think about that, so that's really good. And then also, like, what are you doing to secure those people, and what do you need at every step of this to scale? Because it's like, at what point can you both, like, what is your carrying capacity as founders, all of that. But I could go on for a while, so I'm happy to after this, but we've got limited time.
That's good. Thank you for the feedback, guys.
I believe it's Team Bagas. Bagas, am I saying it right?
Sorry, I was muted. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep. In my head, whenever I hear Bagas, I think Team Sugar Toys, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. All right. So hello, we are Team Bagas. Bagas is a nature fiber byproduct from sugarcane production, as you can see in the imagery on the left. We believe that toys should not be toxic. So why we say that? You might think about, of course, toy should not be toxic. It's for children. But the truth is that according to United Nations 2014 report, toy industry is the most plastic intensive industry. It's like this iceberg you see on the top surface. You can realize that 90% of toys is made of plastic real easily, but you might not know that when you dig deeper, you might know that not all toys are tested. Toys are not recalled unless they are on complaint. Yes, there are regulations on toys, but they are very minimum. And the toy sometimes sometimes the regulation just couldn't have time to test all toys. And when you find deeper, you realize that in a recent study that 1,000 chemical found in toy products in the database, there are more than 300 chemicals are categorized as chemical of concern, have potential to have highly hazardous and create cancer concern. So our value proposition is to use bagasse as a raw material to make toy that use triple bottom line framework. So we create toy that is non-toxic for children. Bagasse is a food grade material where it has been largely used tableware right now. It is a natural fiber that can be digestible. Our product use a cradle to cradle approach that is good for the planet. It can be composed in 45 days. And bagasse product also is a consumer driving product that can have a huge economic impact compared to labor cost and the raw material cost from other sustainable materials such as wood. Much higher profit margin, and it added so much more value to the current use of bagasse. So the magic behind that is that the full life cycle product. If you can see on the purple section of this page where the bagasse come from sugarcane. So during the production process, the sugarcane will turn into like bagasse, as you can see as this fiber residue. And normally it was used to seen as a waste stream, and people start to use them as biomass or turn them into packaging or like bagasse and tableware. But we've decided to use the same manufacturing process, but press the bagasse fiber into toy that you see here in the photo that we're able to produce. And then after the life cycle of that product, you are able to put back the bagasse into soil. It will be digested by bacteria and go back to the land. So how is our business work? This is the internal value chain of our business. We have an in-house design team who we work with marketer to create all the attractive toys, just like other toys you see in the market. And then we work with bagasse manufacturing that we collaborate. Like we will assist them to use the same manufacturing process as they are using right now for like other products such as packaging, but turn them into toy. And then we will work with international distributors as well as our in-house domestic sales team to distribute our toys. And for the sales part, we have both B2B and B2C. So for B2C, we will build our own e-commerce to reach out to end customers. And we have B2B, where we collaborate with schools, organizations, or other companies that really wanted to pivot to sustainable products, especially with toys, to work with them to bring the bagasse toy out to the world. And then the customer service is actually a really important part of our business, and that differentiate us from other products, because our bagasse toy really focus on the full life cycle of the product. After you purchase the toy, we encourage the parents to bury the, like, you wanted to get rid of the toy. We can lead you to how you should process this toy. Like maybe you should bury this toy in the soil, and then there will be it will go back to the land. So the life cycle is very important here.
Great.
And then how we reach out.
Sorry to cut you off. We're at 5 minutes.
Okay.
So could you just go through the rest of your slides real quick? Just not talking,
so this is
but just like show us.
Yeah. So this is a full channel of our like sales channel and through different size. And then this is the market where we wanted to go. On the top left corner is bagasse, where we are, and we will eventually aim to the parts where it still have the open sky. Our team, this is our team. One of our team actually, they actually own a bagasse manufacturing factory in Thailand. So we have the manufacturing facility ready to go. And this is a potential market we are trying to target. And then the last is a plan where we are is we are still finalizing our business blueprint and trying to get our first product out there to reach to the market. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. I've heard this pitch for a long time, so sorry for like going very long, but yeah.
Yeah, I think the top comment would be just tighten it up from a pitch standpoint. Like you have a lot of good information in there. I want to see like your problem statement is strong, which is like your kids are eating chemicals basically with these toys. Questions that popped up in my mind. So for me, I give my daughter a toy. I need to make sure it's not breaking apart in her mouth. Talk to that a little bit, like durability standpoint. Like, what does this look like durability wise? If it breaks apart in 45 days, is that going to happen in my daughter's mouth? Like, as she's chewing on it, like that sort of thing. You just got to be able to speak to that to some level, because you're going to get questions around it. Go to market was good. I think I would put that in front of the internal value chain, because the internal value chain, while it is the process of doing this, and I would have like some explanation found your plans, like dropping down in there. It doesn't need to be detailed, but this is just like, this is standard e-commerce practice in terms of internal value chain. So like, say what you're doing is different, because in general with an e-commerce business, it's kind of where I would expect them to be. And if you go to market plan, like this, yeah, I kind of feel I want a little bit more about like, okay, from a go-to-market plan, how are you getting to the point that we've been talking through this whole time? How are you getting the first 100 customers? That's really critical. Like, how are you getting them? Where are they coming from? And then from there, you can do growth, and you can talk about, okay, then we're going to do digital ads, events, retail, all that stuff. But you can talk to Cody. Cody didn't get his first 100 customers through any digital marketing platform. Like, he went out, found them, and then got the million more, or however many customers he's at this point. But yeah, it's like from there, that's how you're like, I would just love to see like a more granular, because right now you're pre-revenue. So like, get those first 100 customers and then talk to me how you're going to scale it. So that's kind of what I would do with those 2 slides. Other than that, TAM was fine. I think $598 million in an addressable, unless you can literally get that, it's just big.
Sorry, James.
Yeah.
I just have a question. So basically in the funnel, can't we maybe use the model of the hook? So how do we get this 100 customers, but then how do we get them hooked? And then how do we retain versus attract new customers?
Yeah.
Right? Okay, thanks.
All right, so I have some stuff. I'll just go real quick through this. So one thing just to like keep in mind, or just across the board, is you have to understand that like you might not be there when someone looks at these slides, right? So like you have to make the slides, and this goes to James' point about this value chain slide. Right now, this doesn't really tell me anything, right? Like, I don't know, it's just a series of steps that almost every company would take, right? So you need to have at least 1 or 2 bullets, maybe below each of those things. Again, like James said, like what's actually going to happen at this, through these stages. Going back to like the beginning, when you're talking about like the fact and the problem statement, you said some really good stuff, but you need, first of all, you need sources, right? So if you want to say, over 500 chemicals, tested, that bullet, like what's the source, right? Or you made a comment about a study, like put the study, right? Like put it at the bottom, what the source is, right? Because you want people to really take this seriously. Also on this slide, if you can find an example, which I'm sure there is, find an example of a real world scenario where a product was recalled because of a dangerous chemical, or a bunch of kids got sick because they ate a toy. And I mean, like something real, right? You want to like this appeal to people. This is like an emotional play to someone like James. You want James to hear this and be like, oh my God, my daughter's going to die because of her toys, right? Like that's how you sell this, right? So don't be afraid to like layer, go hard on that. So I would do that. The value slide, product slides, both of those. Again, you need to like what's actually going on here, right? Like if I just see the slide and I don't have you talking, I don't really know like what is it? You haven't explained sort of like what this core ingredient is, right? So I need something on here that like points me to that, and how that applies to the bullets you have. The bullets are all good. You just need a little bit more context so I understand. So value chain we talked about. When you were talking about the distribution sales, you need to simplify that a little bit. It sounds like you're kind of saying we're going to do everything, which is probably not realistic. You want to talk about, like to James's point, what are we going to do first to get that 100 customers, and then we'll do these other things. Global market, your market slide, TAM. You also need to source this. And like, what am I talking? You say global market of 90.7. What's that for though? Like, is that toys? Is that, child products? Again, so just be very specific so people, understand what you're talking about. And then source if you can, if there's like a market research study, if like, where did you get that number from? Just so like people understand that it's a real number. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Good job. I also wanted to just let James and Cody know that we have 4 more teams, so we can take our time as well, and like we won't feel rushed like we have in some of the years past.
Oh, I thought we were just like boom, boom, boom. All right, cool.
Yeah. No, I did too, and then I realized it. That we have a lot of participants, but there's only like 6 teams, and so we can really hone in.
I've been tracking. It takes us about 15 minutes per. And we've got 1 hour left. So we'll just keep going at the pace we're going.
All right.
Up next is Team Kevin.
Hi.
Yep.
Okay. We're ready. No, do we start now?
Yep, you can start.
Hey everyone, we are Grabbage, and our goal is to promote environmental sustainability. We want to focus on this problem because we have realized the amount of litter on the streets, especially in large cities like New York, and their detrimental effects on the environment and us humans. This is a major problem, and it's not addressed because civilians have no incentive to pick up the trash they see on the streets and throw them into trash cans. Although there are volunteers and street cleaning trucks in some cities, this does not solve the root problem. People still litter on the streets. We want to solve this problem by targeting the fundamental cause, by giving people an incentive to throw away their trash and trash they find on the streets into trash cans. Slowly, people's mindsets will change and we'll be able to see lesser trash or litter on the ground. By reducing the amount of trash littered, we'll be able to have a cleaner environment.
Our product is an app that is free to download. Users will be able to track the amount of trash they throw into the designated trash cans every day. And we will have a QR code that links to a motion sensor on every trash can to ensure users are actually throwing the trash in. And users will be rewarded with points whenever they dispose of them. And these points can be used to trade for coupons. Our product is very similar to that of a reverse vending machine where you insert recyclable containers and get coins back from the machine. However, this product has been found mostly in Asian countries like China and Taiwan. So there are not many competitors here in the US, except for one called Torma that's scattered in the northeastern coast area. And although they are located in places in New York, their product only targets recycling, while we are more focused on street trash. Our business will function by promoting other businesses through ads, and we believe this will work because the nature of our app is beneficial to the environment. Thus, it will look good for companies who pay us to promote their ads. Furthermore, users can pay for premium plans, which will give them more points and better rewards.
So we will first focus on gaining popularity in small, select areas first, through setting up venues at malls, something like that. And we will also collaborate with stores, restaurants, museums, and so on. For example, McDonald's, they already have coupons and deals on their app, but there are still people out there who don't really know how to use it. So if we do it correctly, more people would go to McDonald's using coupons, which could bring up their passenger flow. And this would work as a mutual advertising strategy. And we will work with government if it's possible. Of course, in this current technological world, we will also use online platforms and social media, such as Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube to get ourselves out to the public. And this is our team. I'm Shuhao, and I'm in charge of materials. Michelle is in charge of organization, and Kevin is in charge of marketing. But currently, we are not sure about our finances and funding part. So this part is like not complete yet. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So thinking about your market. So could you go back to sharing? Sweet. So yeah, if you go to the second slide, your problem slide. So how much litter? Like be very acute around this. Like litter is a big problem and it's an annoying problem. And it's a problem we as New Yorkers, everyone has here. So like where is it the biggest problem in New York? How acute is the problem? And how like make us feel something here right now. This is just saying there's trash and people don't want trash. Like I don't really like, sure, there's trash. I don't want trash, but it doesn't feel like my problem really. And the purpose of the slide is to make it feel like it's my problem. Next slide. So between this slide and the next slide, I just kind of want to see more about really like an image of the product, talk about exactly, okay, how does it solve this problem? Like later you brought up points, reward systems, what, like explain what you built because you're a product first. And so we need to see like, what is your actual product? How is it going to be, how's it going to be used by people? And if we can go forward, like where are you starting is really another thing that I'm thinking about, because you said all the things like start with a small market, find people. Where is that market? If you can go to your go to market slide. Here, like what's the area you're going to start? How are you actually going to start? If you're putting things on trash cans, if you're putting trash cans on the street, you're gonna need to work with the government. Otherwise, they're gonna pull it off the street. Anything that's on the street, they need to approve before it goes out there. At the same time, like how are you gonna make sure it doesn't get stolen? All those weird things. At the same, and then also don't go after McDonald's. They're way too big. Like Ample Hills is small. They've got, they care about the environment. Find local businesses that really care about this to partner with and use them as the means of like starting. And then could you go to your team app? Tell us about you. This is just kind of like, hey, we're people. And we want to see you, like, why are you the people to solve this problem? What makes you special in terms of this problem? How are you going to solve it? And then the finances, you know what the deal is there. You got to have finances. Figure out what it's going to cost you to run the business.
Yeah. First of all, great name. I love the name and the brand. That's really, really good. So that I like that a lot. I think, like James said on the sort of the problem slide, you know, the minimum we need a picture, like a picture of a dirty street or a dirty subway platform or something like that, right? To, like James said, you got to really make it like visceral for people and make people like be like, oh, gross, like, we need to know why it's a problem, right? And if there's any statistics, any facts, figures, numbers you can get in there about, the amount of trash, the amount of the tons of trash that are collected off New York City streets every year because of litter. The amount of they always have in the subway platform, right? The signs about how like if you litter, it causes fires on the tracks and it delays the train. I don't know, so something that really makes it tangible for people. It's definitely a problem, I agree, but you got to feel it a little more. On the slides that kind of had, James was talking about sort of like, how are you actually going to do this? I would love to see, like, even if it's just like an infographic, just like how does this work? What's the journey, the user journey, right? So like some infographic of a guy walking along with his trash, and then there's one of your trash cans, and then, then it says like, what's happening? Oh, I scan the trash can, and then boom, I drop it in, and I get a coupon, and then I go to a business and spend the coupon. The business sponsors the trash can, whatever that is. Just so people can actually understand, like, how does this sort of circular system that you're trying to implement work, right? Just a simple infographic would really help, like, kind of people understand that, I think. And then you mentioned that there was similar products already on the market in Asia. I would absolutely talk more about that, right? Like, because if this product, this solution has already been validated in a different market and it's making money and it's being adopted, then if I'm an investor seeing this, I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like, I want in on that, right? Like, this isn't just a crazy idea. This is like actually something that is working in another part of the world. So if there's an Asian, company that you, like you mentioned, that is doing this successfully, show a picture of their product. Talk about their revenue, like how many cities are they in, right? Like you want people to think like, oh my God, this is the next big thing I need in. So definitely do that if you can. And then I was a little confused on when you talked about sort of like who's paying for what, like that. I want a little more clarity on, like, if I'm a user, do I get to use the thing for free and I just get coupons for throwing trash away? That sounds good, right? If I have to pay to do that, I don't know, maybe, I just want a little more clarity on the revenue model and how that exactly works. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
But again, killer name.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Kat, I believe you're up next.
Yeah. Okay. Are you tired of boring, sad hotel rooms, but you don't like staying in strangers' houses? Hello, we're AXK Design Studio, a sustainable, placeless interior design firm. The current hospitality industry can be exploitative, profiting off of destinations as outsiders without contributing positively to the local site and its economy. They're also highly unsustainable. They use imported, mass-produced products and that replaces locally sourced design. This leads to these spaces being highly homogeneous, and they fail to provide unique, culturally informed experiences. We're creating a sustainable, placeless interior design firm that specializes in working with global hospitality clients to custom tailor their spaces to the destination. As the principal designers, we work with hotel groups that want to expand into new areas by tapping into local community networks to provide unique, luxurious, and sustainably designed hospitality spaces that help hotels take root in the places less traveled.
So our firm works directly with hospitality brands that are looking to expand into growing off-beaten path destinations. We connect with local on-the-ground networks of artists and small businesses by establishing relationship with local design and business schools. Consulting with these networks will both empowering rising local creators and give us the insight to the design specific, ethical, and beautifully sustainable hotels that embedded tourists into the cultural fabric of the destinations. So the luxury chain hotel will, who wanted to upgrade their business and hotel interior style and have the resources will be the client and the investor with the most initial potentials. We will work with smaller hotels who have the ambition and expanded their business and interested in ethical, sustainable design. And we can also reach out for real estate investment trustee or crowdfunding platforms to help build the initial capital. So we listed the potential investor below. And based on our research of trend in the hospitality industry, we started our search with destinations that are emerging on the global tourist scene. Our target market include hospitality brand looking to expand new destinations. And the factor we considered during our market research workplaces that has a high concentration of young people, a growing tourist industry, and a developing economy. So based on these factors, our target market for phase 1 would be hospitality groups looking to expand to Botswana and Egypt. And the phase 2 will be Papua New Guinea and Uganda.
Our competitors are a range of hospitality brands that are currently working towards the same goals. Aman, One Hotels, Banyan Tree, and Conscious Hotels are the top luxury hotel chains that are expanding to destinations ranging from Bhutan to the Dominican Republic. These combined chains have hundreds of millions of dollars in sales every year, and the industry is only growing. In order to understand the future growth potential, we interviewed almost 100 people of all ages. 9 out of 10 respondents said they would be willing to pay more to stay in an environmentally conscious, culturally informed, and community-connected hotel. More than half the respondents said they would be willing to pay 5 to 30% more than normal for this kind of hotel, which gave us an idea of what kind of budget we're working with. The industry for sustainable ethical tourism is growing at an exponential rate. Finally, here's the team. Katz Damanaha is a trained artist with a master's in interior design and sustainable environmental systems. Kiki Lee has an established background in environmental engineering with master's degrees in both interior design and economics. I'm Anushwara Mandale, a certified architect with a master's in interior design. Together, the 3 principals come from 4 different countries and speak a combined total of 7 languages, giving us a unique ability to adapt to and absorb new cultures. That's why we're uniquely prepared to create AXK designs. Thank you.
All right. You guys practiced that a few times.
But we didn't time it, so.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of tightening up. I don't know. What did we end up at from a timing standpoint?
It was 4 minutes, 43 seconds.
Yeah, so just a little bit over, but honestly, it was very good. Like, it was clearly practiced. I really like your design. I think areas that you can improve. We need to see places where people have failed at this, doing this. Like, there are some multi-billion-dollar examples of this failing right here in New York. And there are examples of that around the world. So take examples of that, like look at like how does this function with the kind of work, live, play thing that's happening over in a lot of places. Like how are you getting, so you have this kind of this data, how are you getting those hotels? Really? Like, how are you getting them? I still don't know. So talk to me about like that, and then yeah, it's good. I like the way you've positioned it. I think that I feel like I just want more details into how it's actually going to be executed and how much it costs to execute. Because realistically, if you're going to be building this, are you going to be GC on these buildings? Are you going to be on the ground? How much is that actually going to cost? These people aren't going to pay you up front because they're these people and they're not going to pay you up front. And so like, if they're going to pay you, so how are you going to navigate that? Like, what are the risks associated with this? I want to get a little window into that. We don't need to go into the whole picture, but I do want to see like, what does this look like financially for you?
You're on mute, Cody.
Yeah, I'm back. So yeah, I agree with James. Very good. You know, I love like the visual style. You know, which is obviously important because that's the foundation of what you guys are doing. So good. But yeah, so it looks good. I would say there's a few things like starting at the beginning. I think when you're right off the bat, I'd love to hear a little bit. I think you guys have an opportunity to talk more about the macro trends that are going on and why this is even more relevant, right? So things like, you know, the way that like Airbnb, the explosive growth of Airbnb and the fact that they added in like all these local sort of experiences that you can do, right? Which I think speaks to like that people want to be a part of the culture of the place they're traveling to. So I think there's a little bit more you can add in terms of just that macro trend that supports what you guys are doing. There also might be something to talk about in terms of like the sort of like massive shift over the last year towards remote work, right? And the ability for people to, once we get through all this nonsense, I think there's gonna be a lot more traveling going on and people really like looking for those kinds of experience. On the business model slide, if you can go back to that one, that's where you had a, let's see here. Yeah, business, so right here. So, okay. So I just think you want to be a little specific here, because if I just saw this slide, my first thought was, oh, wow, they have clients already, right? Which just, I'm assuming is not the case, right? So you need to be very specific here that these are like initial target clients or something like that, right? And the same with investors, like the way this reads is like, oh, you have investors already, right? So I would just be very specific there, so you don't kind of give the wrong impression. And then target market slide, if you could go to that one. Great. So this one, let's see here. I want a little more context around like, where did these factors come from? Like, you said you searched for factors. Like, is this from a research study? Is this it's all like coming back to this idea about you want to source things and you want to make sure that like it's, because I could make up a list of bullets to put on a slide and say they're the factors, right? I could just come up with them, so if they're sourced, tell me that. Starting locations, maybe a little bit of like understand like, how those, your factors tie to those starting locations. Like what is it about Botswana and Egypt, right? That makes it, specifically uniquely suited for kind of like that starting location. But yeah, I mean, I like it, everything you're saying. I just want a little more context around it. Growth slide, kind of the same note that you talked about. You did a survey, so you just need to like, I would just put like a footnote, kind of down in the corner somewhere that just says based on a survey of XX, conducted over, whatever, by phone or internet or online, something like that. And then the team slide, you guys have like a great set of, experience for this, like the languages spoken, all the different degrees, whatever, very good, great accomplished team. So I would say something to that effect, maybe it's 1 or 2 bullets below each picture. Again, that just like calls that out, makes it like really kind of stick, because it's you guys have a great story behind it. So I think you should really highlight that. Yep, that is it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good job.
Yeah, I guess Team Freya.
Get up here, second skin. Let's do this.
Yeah. Everyone can see that?
Could you go to present mode? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're second skin, and your safety is in your hands. Currently, everyone is buying masks and wearing masks. A lot of them are reusable, which makes more sense from a sustainable point of view. But by 2027, the global reusable face mask market size will be worth $7 billion. Additionally, people touch their face 16 to 23 times an hour on average. 85% of mask wearers carry hand sanitizer. Out of those people, 50% of them wish that they had a better alternative. Second Skin is the better alternative. We are a state-of-the-art glove utilizing smart design, engineering materials, and antimicrobial technology that actually blocks the growth and kills the spread of virus and bacteria. Our solution is to buy Second Skin gloves, and then you could go back to work and play and socialize with the comfort and confidence that you need in order to live your life and know that you're safe. The gloves have these features. They have antiviral protection, which is in the material itself. I'm actually wearing our prototype right now. So all the fabric that's the glove is made out of has a protected technology that actually kills the virus. You could also wear them all day. They're super comfortable and you actually can forget that you're wearing them. The fit is something that we really concentrated on so that it feels like a second skin. And also the fabric is technology cooling. So it actually will wick away moisture and your hands will not feel hot. We made every single finger on both hands touchscreen friendly. So if you're left-handed or right-handed, doesn't matter. You could use all your fingers. It's washable, so it's sustainable. We're also using recycled fabric. And we have grippy dots throughout the palm of the glove so that nothing will slip out of your hand. We expect our product to be widely available both online and at retail. We have also identified commercial, industrial, and academic applications, which really makes sense to us because for mail deliverers, for people that ship packaging, for teachers all the way from preschool all the way up to college level, when you're handling things, you want to have your hands protected. And also for industrial use, protocols would be great too. Our strategy is to private label our product under as many established retail brands as possible. So here is where a brand like Kate Spade may want to put their name on the glove and we'll label it as such. And also we can adapt the design accordingly so that it fits with the brand image. We've identified a number of competitors, but really we feel like we are in a white space, and I'll tell you why. Randers is one of the leading glove manufacturers in Europe. They're from Denmark, and they have a very storied past with a strong reputation. They've been around for about 100 years. They do have some gloves that have touchscreen technology, but they only have it on 2 fingers. They use sustainable fabrics. They are fashionable, but quite honestly, their fabrics do not stretch or do not have the fit that we think is the most important part of when you're wearing a glove all day. Their price points are very high and they do have an antimicrobial feature, but quite honestly, their pricing seems really far out of reach for the average person, and they could do a lot better with the heaviness of their fabric. They only have the right hand, and it doesn't really make sense for people like me that are left-handed. Stogo is definitely more priced better. It has very low fashion appeal. They do have some touch screen and antimicrobial, but it's not long lasting. And their gloves are self-cleaning, which means that if you wash them, they pretty much fall apart. And then Cornelia James, again, is a conventional glove maker, but very expensive. They have a storied past.
All right, that's 5.
Oh, really? Okay. Thanks. So this is the management team, Robert and I. We both have extensive history in developing, designing, inventing, performance, product development. And our plan is to go to market in the next 3 weeks to meet with potential investors and stores. And we also are testing our technology right now. And thank you.
Awesome. All right, can we go to the second slide, the problem statement?
Yeah.
So this, I like, it's a lot of reading. And I just found myself reading it naturally as you were talking, which meant that I'm not sure what I missed from you talking. So like, while this is good as a hand away, this is something that from a standpoint of me reading it, like you pitching it or talking about it, it's not like I would have maybe some images here that showcase the market, like a ramp, something that you can actually show, and then that way it'll make me less inclined to read, because that's what ends up happening the moment I see a page full of text. Can we go to the next slide?
Sorry, I don't know what's going
on. This is good. I would love to see a picture of the product here and like some different variants of it. And like, you're going to market next 3 weeks. Like, do you have multiple colors? Like let's talk through how this is better. So it blocks the growth and spread. Like, show an image of that or show something to show that. Make me feel how this is a better solution. The first slide, I left myself feeling like I want to feel, because what you're doing is you're providing safety. You're providing a sense of safety, providing a sense of comfort. The first one was very kind of analytically like focused, and I didn't feel anything really. I want to feel something on that first part, and then the second part, I want to be like relieved because you're providing me the solution. Can we go to the next slide? Again, just like a lot. So show someone wearing it. Like, you did a great thing, like showing the glove, you wearing the glove, but show some examples, show how it's super comfortable, how it's flexible, all of those stupid things that you see in ads with like somebody grabbing a fabric and like going like this, like do that. Like just show it, because it's something that this is great, but it's a physical product, so you can actually show what it does. Can we go to the next slide? Again, talk about a little bit about where they are, how they are. Like, I know details because we've talked, but the reality is that the people on the other end of this, they're not going to know what you're talking about. So just need context behind this, and like where those applications are, what those applications are, potential markets, all of that, and what the size is. So dollar value. And you can actually go 2 slides ahead now. This just way too much on the screen. I find a way to visually simplify this and tighten it up into a way that you can speak to quickly. Like, these brands, they're storied, they're great, they've all got their issues. How can you quickly speak to the fact that you're better than each of them in this one way? Can we go next slide?
James, for that, do you recommend the matrix or the
I like
competitive quadrant?
Yeah, I like that. I like showing sliding scales. I like all of that. This slide, I would do bullet points. We can send you examples of that. I think we have sent examples. So stuff like that. This, I would do bullet points, just keep it tight, and show photos, because you're you, and be a human, because you're not necessarily going to be in front of people when they see this. So the human thing is to show your face so that you feel somebody looks at this and goes, oh, hey, they're real. I'm real too. It just makes people feel more comfortable. Can you go to the next slide? Was there one more? Yeah. How? Just how. And I found myself really wanting some financials here. Like, how much is it going to cost you to get there? I know you didn't have a bunch of time to do that. But like, financials, really critical here. So like, what's it going to cost? What's your cost per glove? How are you actually going to scale this? And what are you going to spend on various things?
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Still muted.
Oh, muted.
You're still muted.
Sorry, I've got it. So I keep going on mute because I have a new puppy, and the puppy really likes to get the squeaky toys when I'm on Zoom calls. So it's like always better just to go with the mute. But sorry, can you share the deck again, please? Sorry, can you share the slides again? Yeah. Okay.
She's working on it. She's also muted.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so I think first of all, your bullet about the sort of the problem statement. I agree with James in one sense that it made me read it. I will say that it like made me touch my face. So, and then I was like, oh my God, I just did it. She's right. So it was very good in that sense of like subliminally like making me do something. And then I was just like James, I was like, oh my God, this is gross. So good job with that. Yeah, but James, I think James was right. If we can find a way to maybe break it up a little bit, like maybe the, that you said 50% of mask wearers wish they had an alternative. I'm assuming that was from some sort of like, maybe that was a survey, maybe make it a pie chart, right? Like, I don't know, to just find ways to maybe say the same thing visually, the market size, right? Maybe you can show that as a, as a chart that shows it growing, what's the growth, right? So anyway, just try to make it a little more visual, I think, but it's all good stuff. Just, like Jim said, you end up kind of reading it. One of the things I had, just a question in general, like, do you have any sort of IP protection on this, or are you filing any sort of patents? Like, what stops another company from just, one of these companies that you're presenting to, right? What stops them from just making the same thing? So you need something in there around what is your strategy for protecting this, right? You say you're working on, some materials and anti-viral, technology. I want to hear a little bit about like, how is this going to be, what's the competitive moat, right? And then, along those lines, it was a little confusing to me what the business model was, because you say, we're going to sell it ourselves, or, it's going to be widely available online through retail, and we're going to do like white label versions for people. Doing all of those is hard, right? So it would be good, I think, to kind of like focus on like, what's the initial thing, right? Is the initial thing partnering with someone to get, sell it under their label? That has big implications on your financials, as opposed to just selling it yourself. Is it to sell on Amazon? Is it, you're going to use Instagram influencers? Just a little bit more about that to kind of clean it up. And then on the target market, this is related to that. So, you talked about sort of, it's hard to go with something like this, I think, and James, jump in here if I'm off base, but I feel like it's hard to go like right for the mass consumer adoption, right? So you guys talked about the fact that you had identified some industrial applications, right? I would almost like try to lead with that, right? And say, here's the big target market we want to hit, but we know that like, if we can dominate this little market first, then we can scale out, right? And it's like classic, I don't know if you guys read just Crossing the Chasm, great book if you haven't read it, but that's the whole theory, right? To introduce the product, find an easy to dominate market where that they need the product and it's a clear application, and maybe it's education, maybe it's medical, something like that, right? And then think about like, okay, cool, we've dominated, we learned a bunch of lessons, we figured out the model, pow, now we go big, right? So anyway, that's just some thoughts on that, but overall, really good.
Thank you. That was really helpful.
Also, wait a second, the thing I've been preaching this entire time. Find the tiny market to dominate.
But yeah, James is right. It's always a good strategy, find a small pond to swim in, right? Like find something easy where you can win, and then use those lessons and all, that brand and that reputation you develop from being a good solution for a small market, and then you can go big with it much, much easier.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
Telling me this makes me feel like really excited about that. to me, that's where the possibility lies, because that's where it's so needed. I mean, those folks are like handling stuff all day, every day, you know?
Yeah. You find, you know, maybe it's bus drivers. I don't know. You know, there's definitely like a somewhere where it just makes sense for people, right? Because everybody, you know, you might get them eventually, but it'll be a lot easier if you've done it with a small group first.
If it's tied into their livelihood, you know?
Yeah, the person that's like, oh, thank God, finally I have the solution. Yeah.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And grade school teachers, it could be, you know, we just have to figure out what that is. Yes.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Awesome, thank you so much. Great.
So last team, Christine's team.
Look at that, we have 17 minutes left.
This thing worked out perfect.
Let's just take our time.
Easy, James.
Twisting the knife, James.
Okay, so hi, we're Team Mirrors. And so since the start of the pandemic, there's increasingly more requirements to work from home. And we need to use like the most out of the space we have. And now the home spaces can now play many roles, like an office, school, a gym, and is a place of refuge. So this means we have to pay more attention to our living space, make it more functional and comfy as it possibly can. So for our product, our value proposition is that we will have a modular walling system that can provide a various range of uses as partition, storage, and living green walls. And we would like to make it as flexible as you can, so you can make creative uses of your small spaces without costly permanent home renovations. And for our product, we are looking to be online, and owners can order online and install it themselves, so which is a convenient way and a safe way to install the product. And for our product, we also look for easily assembled, disassembled, and made with sustainable materials, which can be non-permanent and become zero waste. And we also would design these modules to allow for unique and customizable assemblies. And we're looking into a business model that can be rent or buy, and you can return when you move out. So as mentioned before, we're targeting mainly business to consumers and online sales and rental services. From what we surveyed, people would be comfortable with purchasing the units for $30 to $40 and renting for up to $10 per month. And we are shooting for material costs of $20. Our go-to-market plan, our target market is the online shoppers in the US who live, work in small spaces during and after the pandemic, and we will reach out to customers with online presence. The current market, it's really fragmented, with USM modular furniture has the majority advantage in the US, and other companies like Everblock, Furnish, Ucube and Ublock, and of course IKEA. So there's the current market of 115 billion, and it is expected to grow by 8 billion until 2024, and 40% of those is online segment, with an increasing trend of online sales. So the current status of our company, we are currently refining our prototype and looking into sustainable materials. And we would soon like to incorporate those materials and launch online website for pre-order. And in the future, we would like to expand customer base and diversify our product line based on the initial product reception. And our current team is comprised of Amy, myself, Danny, and Robin. We're all group of architecture students. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So can we go to the second slide? This same comment as last thing, like just there's a lot here. Like pandemic, working from home, what like talk to the pain of working from home. Like I feel it very concretely. At the beginning of this call, I was talking about buying a home. I'm buying a home because I'm ready to jump out the window working from my home. Like I Cody's buying a home for the same reason. Like we're all it's work pandemic has exacerbated the New York not having space thing to the nth degree, to a point where people are going crazy living in their houses or buying places upstate or moving everywhere. So like talk about it. Like this is, you have a real problem statement here, but you're not saying it. You're saying like working from home uses a lot of space. Okay. Yeah, it does. You're right. Like, let's talk about like what are we doing to that end? Like, how are we scaling? Like where's the pain? I want to feel it because I feel it every day. It's like my biggest pain in my life right now is this work from home. So like talk about that. Second slide.
Talk about it and also use imagery too. Like there can be, you can say it, 1,000 words with a picture. So maybe a picture of James with the child screaming and a lot of clutter around him and stuff like that.
I do not support that image because that's going to give me anxiety. But some member of your team probably lives in a small apartment and is trying to struggle with space. Show a picture of them with their work from home laptop right as they're sitting on their bed. Literally, I'm sitting on a bed right now, and I've been sitting on a bed this entire time, and my legs want to die. So, yeah. All right, next slide. As much as I want to love this slide, it doesn't actually feel real to me. I want to feel like the product, and like I want to see this in a home. You clearly have rendering skills. Like use that to put this in someone's home. Make it feel real. Show how it's going to make someone's life better. Take that same image from before with the member of your team who looks like they're like is crammed in a corner and trying to like type with their elbows tight up against their chest, to like now they have this. What does that mean for them? How is this actually solving the problem? In two very concrete images, you can be like problem solution. Here's how we do it. And like that will negate the need for this slide and the next one. This slide, underlying magic, great. It's not specific. Like sustainable, reusable materials, which ones? You talk about it a little bit later, like mycelium. Cool. Mycelium's great. Are mushrooms going to grow in my house now? Like, but sorry, mushroom joke. That's bad. But anyway, like, what does this look like as a product? How is it easily scaled to disassemble? This here, that looks like a finished piece. It doesn't look like something I can take apart really easily. So like, go through that a little bit and make it real, basically. Can we go to the next slide? Context here. Like, sure, this is a single unit cost. Honestly, 50% COGS is going to be terrible for you with this specific thing. You should be, and Cody, correct me if I'm wrong, but you should be around 16%.
Yeah, because that's before everything else, right? So that's just going to be your strict gross margin. But you got to factor in all the operating expenses. So if you're at the 50% gross margin, it might be. I mean, unless you have a super lean operating structure. But yeah, to James's point, you need to clarify a little bit. And it's also, just while we're on the slide, if 40 and, the rental price feels a little odd to me. And then what do you do with them if they get, when they get returned, right? Is there a upcycling program, that's not necessarily relevant to this slide, but just curious about that.
Yeah, for the business model, it just doesn't feel specific. It doesn't feel like there's detail behind it. I want to feel like this is a business that all of your costs. So like base unit material cost is not packaging cost, is not shipping cost, it's not labor costs. It's what are the business economics, not necessarily the per unit economics.
Yeah.
And yeah. We can go to the next slide when you're ready. I know you're typing, so. Go to market plan. Don't target the whole US. Target a small subset of the US. Like, know where your first 100 customers are. Like, to the point that we've said, I think in almost every one of these presentations, target a super small market that you can own, scale out.
That's been a theme of today, I've noticed, James. Both you and Cody keep emphasizing start in a big fish in a small pond and then go from there, establish that like loyalty, that customer excitement, and then expand.
Yeah, it's like online shoppers in the US who live in small spaces. Okay, who are they? Where are they? Like, what do they do? Why would they pay? Do they have the liquid income for this? Do they have the are they liquid enough to buy this? Like, does it fit with their design aesthetic? It won't fit with everyone. So like, how does it work with everybody? Like, I just want a lot more specificity on this slide. Can we go to the next one? I'd love to see some percentages here. Like, how much of the market do these people control? How are they actually competition? Like, are they competition? Are they partners? What do each of these people do? How are they different? Like, I know IKEA, but USM is an acronym. I don't know what that means. I can go to the next one when you're ready. This, again, super specific. Like, who are you targeting? What's your total acquirable market? The 40% of online shoppers who buy custom home furniture is not your total acquirable market.
Yeah, way too big.
Like, you can't have a total acquirable market of $40 billion. Like, we got to look at, it's got to be much more, got to be a lot tighter. And I want it, like, you saw most of the other ones were like 30 million, 40 million. Be specific, like number of people who care about recyclable furniture, who care about the environment, who live in apartments, and who are liquid enough to buy this, basically. All right, next one. Yeah, there's not, like, launching an online presence isn't really like a milestone. So it's like kickoff pre-sales is a milestone, and like putting this in the hand of your first customers, have definitive goals around this, and like what the expectations are for each of these steps from a revenue standpoint, from a cost standpoint. Next slide.
I just real quick, I agree with James's comments here, but I also wanted to say that I really like this slide. because it actually, and I, you know, and I understand that the you know, the next and future ones, you don't really have actual dates in there or anything like that. But I like the fact that you're actually like, you know, laying out a roadmap. James is right. Like a little bit more detail is good. And you can, yeah, I would just build off this. I like, but I do like it. And I like that you thought to include it. And I think it's helpful.
Yeah. Next one. Detail about each of you and photos. You're humans, show it. And then next one, I think, was there one more? No. Yeah, we need financials, like actual financials. Like how much is it going to cost you to start the business? How much, what's your like, how are you actually building this thing? How are you manufacturing it? Where is it being manufactured? Cody, do you have, we're running
Yeah. I got just a few ones. Let me see here. Sorry. I would go back to the slide where I think it's either 3 or 4. Go to 3, please. Slide 3. So yeah, so I agree with James. I want to see what this looks like in a house. I think that's important. And then go to 4. Okay, so this one was a little vague because this was a little confusing because the previous slide, right, I saw the wall and I was like, okay, that's what we're doing. And then this slide, it's these kind of cubby hole, shelf things, which is fine. But I want to understand, like, what's the product range, right? Like, what do we, is there a specific product that you've designed? Or is this just more in theory, like this is the kind of products we're going to design? I just want to understand that a little bit. Like, am I looking at a real product here, right? Or an example of a product? When you say zero waste, that feels unlikely to me, right? Like, and I don't know what you mean by that. Like, do you mean, like, what about packaging, right? Like, how does this get to my house, right? If I have to throw away a cardboard box, it's not zero waste anymore, right? And obviously you can't manufacture things with no waste. So, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you could call it low waste, you could call it, something, but zero is just, a little, probably a little much.
Minimal waste.
Yeah, minimal, right? Exactly. Just, you don't want to say things that you can't back up, right? Because if someone calls you on it, you need to be able to defend, the words you're using. So just be very specific. And then
just adding on to that real quickly, Team Bagas's point, they had exactly how long it takes their product to decompose. Like, that is a good example of a way to get around how much waste is made in the production of your product, is saying, like, this is how good we are for the environment.
Yeah, exactly. And then the last point I'll make, because I know we're at the top of the hour, but when you say rent to buy or to return when you move out, I want to make sure, are you saying, just be very specific. Are you saying like rent to buy in the sense that I can like pay my $10 a month until I've paid for the cost of the unit and then it's mine? Or do you mean like your range of options are rent to buying, right? Like I can either rent or buy. I just want to make, I know you get into a little more detail on the next slide, but that you say it here and it was just a little confusing when I read it. I wasn't quite sure exactly what you meant there. So just clarify that a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's we're shooting for the first one, so like you can rent it until you pay it off to buy it.
Yeah. So what I would do visually then is I would put a dash. So I would say rent dash to dash buy. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that just makes it a little like. But okay, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think we have time to get into it, but just throw them so then I think that creates a kind of a contradiction maybe in the business model, because if I can pay I think it was $10 a month to get up to the $40 and then I own it, why would then what happens when I return it, or why would I rent and not buy, right? Because why would I pay after 4 months if I'm at $50? So anyway, just think through the implications of that a little bit, I think, because that's an investor is definitely going to ask you about that. They'll be like, hold on, explain this to me again. So just think that through a little bit, and be ready to kind of, be very clear about what the model is. But
Thank you so much for the feedback. I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
So earlier you were touching about how this would be like kind of an example of what we're doing, and which is the case since we don't have a solid design yet. How would you approach like showing the images?
Yeah, it's a great question. You could come up with sort of a set of design principles that your products will fall under. That would be one way to do it, I think. And James, you can chime in here too. That would be my thought, is you could say like, we are going to make material, or we are going to make products that have these attributes, that they are modular, they are sustainable, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And then you can kind of highlight this as like, these are examples of the kind of products we would make, right? But you have to very clearly define what are the design principles and what are the attributes of your products that you will make, right? That would be my thought. I don't know if James has any ideas on that, but.
No, I 100% agree. Yeah, like, it doesn't have to be the final, but like get it to a point where it's a real thing and you can put it in situ. Like, I want to be, so let's say you were designing this lamp, right? If you were designing this lamp, you could say, like, the original design in your pitch deck could have a bunch of different lamp styles, but like, have this design created and show it sitting next to someone so that, like, make it real. However you do it, create a few things that it will be, create a language that you're going to follow, and then place it in this where people will be using it. And whether that's what it looks like or not at the end, it's going to make it feel more real than it currently does. Because right now it's like you have 3 different designs, but some of them have lines across them, some of them don't. Like,
yeah, get consistency in them, in your renders that you're showing. Yeah, I think if you define your kind of thesis, like what are we about? What's our brand? Our brand is, again, sustainable, modular, low cost, whatever it is. And then just have a unifying, kind of theme that runs through the renders. So it makes sense, right? You're like, oh, I get it. This is a product line. That's the way I would approach it. But
thank you so much.
awesome. Well, thank you, everyone.
Yep.
I know we're over, but this has been honestly like really great. I love seeing this much progress in this short a time. And I think that I would love to see like better financials from everyone. But if anyone wants to sit down and go over them with me, I'm happy to set up time to walk through your finances, come do a little model. It's fine. I'm here to help with that. But if you have any questions for Cody, myself, anyone, if you have our emails, feel free to shoot them over. We're all here to help, but this was really good and you guys did an amazing job. Thank you so much, Cody, for coming.
Cody, you're awesome, man. Thank you so much. That was so helpful.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun. So yeah, no, great job, everybody. That looks really good.
So everybody, every single one of you, like, just keep going and you'll be great for the pitch on April 10th. And I'll also be sharing the, what do you call it? The template so that the judges will have, so you'll know exactly what they're looking for as well. So I'll be sharing that with you in a week or so. And you have till April 10th. Please use us in any way we can. We love supporting you. And yeah, it's incredible. Especially you guys are at where other teams were at like weeks later after this. So
yeah,
awesome work.
Well done. All right. Bye, everybody.
See you April 10th.